One of the United States' key border laws has come to an end. Known as Title 42, the policy was brought in during the pandemic under President Trump and allowed for the rapid expulsion of migrants on public health grounds. Its lapse has triggered a significant uptick in the number of migrants heading towards border towns in the hope of easier access into America. Our Washington correspondent Annalise Nielsen joins us live now from the US-Mexico border. She's at the Sacred Heart Church in downtown El Paso, Texas. Annalise, you've been on both sides of the border today. Tell us a bit about the conditions there.
Look, the conditions are really tough for these migrants, and the calculation they've been having to make is, will we get into America if we go for this border crossing now? And this has been the confusion around it. There's been no clear answer what was going to happen at the end of Title 42. And so this is why we're seeing this huge rush. El Paso, the town where we are now, is one of the cities that's had migrants here in record numbers. The street where we are had thousands of people, and you can see now there's still groups here waiting for what comes next. They don't know, and many of them have come through. We've spoken to a number today from Venezuela, has been the predominant country where many of these migrants have come from. The understanding from some of them was, look, if we go over now, we need to get in ahead of the expiry of Title 42 because otherwise we're not going to be able to claim asylum. Now some were saying, look, we should wait till afterwards because there's going to be a crush of numbers, and so this is when we're going to get over. And there hasn't been a clear answer from the government. The Biden administration, quite late in the piece, put in some strict rules saying, hey, if you come over, you're going to be sent back, you're going to be banned for another 5 years from even trying to apply again. But with so many numbers within these migration centres, this is the key issue. Can they keep that promise? We've had a ruling from a judge in Florida, a federal ruling though, so applies everywhere, which means anyone who goes into these migration centres cannot be released without a court date. The courts are overwhelmed with these cases, and we're seeing people coming out now with court dates for 2027. And in the meantime, plenty more are waiting. On the other side of the border where we've been, they've been told to use an app to apply. The app crashes, they can't log in, they get an appointment, and then it doesn't get confirmed, and they actually didn't have an appointment at all. And so then the calculation becomes, do we just risk it? And this is exactly what the US government doesn't want to show. But what we are seeing here is record numbers of migrants. We haven't seen these kind of numbers in the US, even over the steady growth of the last 2 years. These few weeks have been extraordinary, and there is going to need to be a clear message to try to get through to, it's the people smugglers who put these messages through to really desperate migrants who want to get over. And as long as they can continue to say, hey, there's hope, people will continue to come.
Annalise, you can see obviously a very human story you're covering there, and the young child with their mother behind you. It's obviously a difficult story for many, but in a political sense, it feeds into 2024 in a big way, doesn't it?
Absolutely. This is a human story, you're absolutely right. And these families, many of them have been camping out for days now since the expiration of Title 42. But, I mean, before that, with some of the people we've spoken to, they left their home countries months ago and had to walk here. You can't underestimate the toll of that. People don't want to see this happening on either side of the political spectrum, and so the question becomes, who has the answer? The fact that this has been typified as being a Trump-era policy, Title 42, it's ostensibly a health-era policy to say it's a pandemic policy to turn around people so they don't spread disease. It was very much the intention of Trump to control migration. It was never really the attempt to actually control COVID-19. In the meantime, though, the Biden administration hasn't come up with its own clear strategy, and Kamala Harris was in charge. She was the border czar. It's been a difficult thing to translate in that aspect for her, and so that's going to hurt them politically. But what we are going to see is Republicans making hay of this because they don't have a lot of other good stories to tell at the moment. This is one of them because these aren't the kind of scenes we were seeing when Donald Trump was president.